Hello once again, amazing subscribers and loyal viewers. It's Wild Elf 26 once again. And as you can tell, it's nighttime. I'm outside. It's going to be another walk and rant video. And we're in that bridge between September, August-September bridge. And we're about to do another walk and rant, as I said. And this particular walk and rant is going to be topical about the seasons too. Most people, they really enjoy Christmas and they really love Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is a real good holiday. It's definitely a good season. But my favorite holiday of all time, of course, with my cosplay and retro gaming, of course, is Halloween. And I think Halloween is the exact date that Weird Al Yankovic was born. So that's kind of fun. All right, guys, I'm going to change the camera angle from this great one where you get this wonderful face. And we'll be looking more at the road because walking rants aren't about the video. They're about the topic. Okay, guys. So, we're in the season. And I've been to one of our local department stores and saw Hobby Lobby, right? Well, in their front entranceway, they've already got Christmas trees. Christmas trees are already being displayed for sale, and they started putting those Christmas trees out in the lobby, and it was still September. I mean, it was still August when they started putting the Christmas trees in the lobby. And I'm sure you guys have some interesting views on, sorry, my jacket's blowing open in the wind. Thought I had the bottom snapped. All right. But yeah, they're putting out Christmas stuff as early as August. And I wonder what you guys think of that. Please let me know in the comments what your opinion is on that. To me, it seems like they're kind of railing us through the holiday season more rapidly, faster than ever. And I don't know if it's just done from a merchandising aspect or what, but it seems like it would not be as profitable to them to keep following the business model going earlier and earlier like this, because the holidays still take place on the day of the month that they've always taken place. But if they're putting out so much product so much earlier, well, then people have bought, what they needed for Halloween, possibly even like some turkey supplies too, because they're thinking of how early everything is. So they're getting their roasting pans and their turkey basters and other things. And it's like, dang, folks, give us a chance to kind of enjoy the summer months. The kids are just recently back in school from the summer holiday. And now they're already having these season holidays shoved at them. So that's got to feel like pressure on the kids, wouldn't you think? But I'm sure a lot of them enjoyed the summer and had fun with their friends, and they're probably telling their friends at school, what a cool thing they did for the summer, or some cool hangout they have or something, and or what they did with their new bicycle or something during the summer break. But yeah, these holidays, it's a lot of pressure on the parents too, because nowadays, after the Biden inflation stuff, and I apologize, but I'm just using the name to distinguish the era. But yeah, Biden era inflation raised grocery prices and a lot of stuff really high. And now that the new administration has come in, they had what was seemingly success with a lot of these trade negotiations and some of their import fees that they call tariffs. And a lot of people weren't so sure about the tariffs. But then supposedly we have all this return of massive amounts of money pouring into the country because of these imposed tariffs. And be that as it may, we've seen only very, very marginally weak price lowering. Almost no price lowering at all, to tell you the honest truth. And I think, what was it? Eggs went down in price. Yeah, that was kind of like a mandatory thing because it was talked about so much. But the eggs did go down slightly in price. But I've seen other things go up for no reason. Like if you enjoy your Pepsi and your Dr. Peppers and all that, well, during the inflation era, previously, a lot of that stuff just rose up in price ridiculous. Well, a lot of that same products and even the store brand imitations have gone up as well. One of the highest store brand sodas price wise is was that place called Winn-Dixie. Yeah, Winn-Dixie. Yeah, go check out the Winn-Dixie version of Cherry Cola and compare it to just 4 years ago or 5 years ago. You'll notice a sharp price jump. Yeah. And sorry for the folks, but sometimes if I'm a little frustrated, I will throw out different once in a while. And these high grocery prices have definitely been a point of frustration for me, Wild Elf 26, and possibly a point of frustration for you too, I would imagine. Unless you're staggeringly wealthy, then all this is speaking simply Greek gibberish to you, probably. But majority of us are not wealthy, as opposed to whatever broadcast shows or steamrolling the issues or scrutinizing the issues and all this. And there's so many different, quote unquote journalist shows. And what is it today that makes somebody a professional or somewhat respected journalist? What is that? I mean, I just don't understand, because it seems like we've had a lot of shows that popped up that were basically put together as like a 1-hour commercial, because they would talk about things as if they were interviewers, as if they were journalists about some sort of stories of the day, news-wise, and a few political coverage things. But then they would keep stopping and keep promoting some product, some advertising of some sort, I mean, thankfully, here in the U.S., our internet is relatively free. Our social networks are still somewhat relatively free. I heard some recent rumblings about Google. And one of the things that they've been talking about is in the newer Android phones or something, and maybe some current Android phones will be affected, I don't know. But it seems like Google and Android are kind of throwing away their distinctive difference, the difference between Android and iPhone. Now, Android used to be the open source, you can modify, you can customize your phone any way you want. And now, well, what they've been talking about is they were specifically talking about how the new Google Pixel phones don't allow you to uninstall. They just allow you to disable what seems like trifle apps that aren't primarily important. And now, if you go to internet locations to download an Android app, if it's not specifically and only a Google Play Android app, well, you may not be able to use them on the phones anymore because they're trying to do some strange permission-only thing or developer identification-only thing where basically if whatever criteria has not been met by the developer to make this app available for Google Play, then they basically don't want you playing it, or don't want you using the app. So, and that's annoying. I myself have been, for the brief amount of time I've been with smartphones, it's been definitely Android phones. The iPhones are ridiculous. You can't remove the battery. They do not have an SD card slot. Heck, most of them do not have a headphone jack. You have to have all these little proprietary things to keep everything good with iPhone. And it's a bothersome annoyance, especially when you consider how expensive the iPhone is to begin with. So that's one issue, one candle that burns our butts as far as us being Android aficionados. But if Android is basically a secondary brand that's following or that will be following basically what is the Apple type scenario where everything is super permissioned and you basically can't do any beta or in development apps. It's only going to be finished apps on the Google Play. So that's kind of very very questionable. And in one of their statements, they said they're doing most of this eventually to Android in general, but specifically to their newer Google phones, because they claim it's to reduce people accidentally downloading Trojanware, malware, and other types of damaging viralware. I'm guessing ransomware is probably one of them too that they mentioned. And I guess on some level that might actually reduce some of that. But once you take away people's ability to customize and choose how their Android phones run, with what type of utility and business and fun and everyday apps, you're taking away yet some more freedoms. Not that we had that many of them to begin with, but it's kind of nice that we had this whole Android system phone thing, basically phones that run off of Linux, for those people that enjoy doing the computer programs and stuff. They're really happy with their Linux computers, which are the backbone, as I was told some time ago, they're the backbone for actually developing Android apps. They use very similar Linux protocols from what I understand. So when it comes to that, and I'm going to wrap that up because I want to get back to the seasonal stuff. If you already can afford iPhones, and their unusual costs and the costs associated with iPhones, well, that's great. More power to you. Majority of the blue-collar type people in America cannot afford that stuff. It's a headache. And if there's any kind of problems, glitches, or troubleshooting that needs being done, they have to go take them to a specific authorized iPhone repair something or another, you know. Otherwise, you're voiding your iPhone agreement, your iPhone warranty, and possibly endangering your Apple iOS service, depending on what the policies and protocols are. So with Android, you didn't have that. You got any issue with your Android, just about any computer repair place that claims to repair phones or upgrade your phone, they would be more than happy and more than competent, usually very, very competent, to repair or unglitch your Android phone. But there are some malwares, there are some Trojanwares, and of course ransomwares that can basically turn your phones into a brick. Yeah, an expensive square-shaped thing that is only good for being masonry. But so you have to be a little careful. There has to be a little personal responsibility when you're on the internet with your phone. But like I said, hopefully we'll keep our internet free, keep our freedoms of internet, hopefully. So we're not in a quagmire that our cousins in Britain are currently in. We don't want a deep state internet, you know. We don't want that, and we don't want our freedom-loving Android class phones to adopt some restrictive nature that basically makes them a true imitator of the iPhone. And at least that's my point of view on that. If you enjoy using an iOS iPhone tablet device, please let me know in the comments. Now, if you're faithful and you enjoy Android phones and Android tablets, please let me know that in the comments. And if you could, please illustrate to me why you prefer that type of phone over the opposition. I guarantee you, though, once they start taking the customization freedoms away from Android, you're going to see a lot of people, they're either going to just stop using both brands, or they're going to be getting those El Cheapo flip phones, like the ones that they still make and service. You know, what's that other one, the real big one, the Jitterbug 3 or whatever it is, a flip phone, or Alcatel flip phones. There's a bunch of those. Yeah, a lot of different variations of that. Heck, even the company Caterpillar, you know, the construction company. Well, there's a few very utility-minded phones that are flip phones that have the Caterpillar name on them. So that's kind of cool. I don't know what company they partnered with to make those, but there you go. And basically it will be kind of a resurgence of the 90s, you know, flip phones that aren't really internet computers anymore. And then you'll have people that will probably buy the occasional tablet, and there might be a spike in tablets that also perform as phones. But I think that the makers of Android and the makers of Google Pixel may be quite shocked with the public's backlash by ditching their service at that point and going for something else instead. You see, these companies, they have all these different CEOs, they have all these different people making these ideas at the top. And then it drizzles down to their R&D department and everything else to make the devices based on their idea of a business model that they think will be better. Yeah. And what that usually translates to is it's something that makes using the service more expensive somehow and reducing the options and freedoms of the user. But you find that in just about every industry, not just cellular communication, but everything related to it, you know, from everything from multiplayer games to dedicated console game systems and things like that. They want to do things where they have more control of the service and the customer has less options. And if the customer wants to do business with that company, they have to follow the rules as they have been set down by the company. And they either will continue to do business that way and like it, or, you know, they say you can go to their competition or whoever. And the problem is their competition is doing stuff like this too. And it's like a really strange point in our history right here in 2025. There was some sort of study a little while back, or actually not so while back, it was more recent. They said that most of the demographic of kids that play video games, they were saying the majority of them don't even play PC or platform game systems. No, just the easy little tablet and phone games. Yeah, well, maybe easy's not the word to use, but very popular, very easy to get into games. From the controversial Roblox, which shouldn't have controversy, but it does, because a lot of the tech folks that set that up really didn't troubleshoot any possible problems, and now they're getting all kinds of complaints. There's a lot of people doing social media videos about, you know, the menace of Roblox, you know, the dangers it presents to America's children. Yeah, but not because the game is designed dangerously. It's the online options that are dangerous, the online interactions. And it's really like they sped up the process to put this stuff available on the devices without really checking everything. You know, they didn't give everything a very good check. And now they're kind of paying the price for that. But then there's the other popular game. You know, there's many popular games, but Fortnite. You know, Fortnite is like an unstoppable juggernaut monster, you know. They have Fortnite. Fortnite has got so many different licensed characters from so many different franchises all thrown in there. You can literally have like a Ninja Turtle going up against an Autobot or a Decepticon in one of the Fortnite things. They got the Marvel pack. They got just so many things in the Fortnite. And myself being an OG gamer back in the day, I look at Fortnite and it's got kind of a behind the shoulders third person camera view to a game that's very similar to a first-person shooter game, but it's been made mostly family-friendly for the most part. And I look at that and think, well, that's good. We need stuff that can also be, family-friendly. We thought Roblox was, but basically, I think what's going to happen is they're going to shut down Roblox, and they're probably going to reinitiate a brand new one a couple months later where people paid for it, but the options will be different when it reinitializes to try to take care of what the current concerns regarding Roblox is. But with Fortnite, I really haven't heard I haven't on social media, at least, I haven't heard any uproars or people complaining too much about Fortnite. So I guess the people that developed Fortnite must have been a lot more savvy, a lot smarter about how they initiated their multiplayer and multiplayer interaction. So, and it looks like they have a lot of fun. I think there's another game called Splatoon. Splatoon was real big. I don't know if that was a multi-platform game or if that was a franchise specific to a dedicated console or something. But I remember they were talking like crazy about Splatoon, and I saw some game footage of that, and I thought, well, that does look like fun for the very younger gamers. But I think I would not be too joyous about Splatoon for myself, because to me, I see the action of Splatoon, and it looks, and I don't want to say it because some games are really cool that happen to be a little repetitive, but in the case of Splatoon, I can tell just from the demos that it feels very repetitive. And not in I could do this all day kind of thing. No, not that type of repetitive. It's more repetitive like, oh, here we go again. Do I really gotta do this again? So if you agree with me on Splatoon being kind of repetitive in sort of a downside way, then let me know in the comments. But it does appear to look somewhat nicer. It seems like a safe game for the tykes, the younger kids. Bunch of motorcycles just zoom by. Hey, and how many of you gamers out there played Road Rash or any of the Road Rash franchise? It was pretty awesome. They've had Road Rash on Game Boy Color even, the Genesis that launched it basically. I once had the Sega CD version of Road Rash for Sega CD, and I'm not talking about Saturn, I'm talking about the add-on for the Genesis. It was basically Road Rash 3 graphics, but with the options and menus from the 3DO Road Rash in lesser Genesis color. But the awesome thing was all the music samples in that Road Rash, instead of being stuck only in the menu portions of the game, whether you're listening to Swerve Driver, Paw, or Soundgarden, they would play during the actual races when you race. And that was kind of cool, because when I got the later PlayStation X, PS1 version of Road Rash based off a 3DO one, they had moved all the music only to the menus. It was only in the menus. And when you race on the bikes, they had these like boops and bleeps and little, goofball music that had nothing to do with the cool music that they were bragging about on the box. So that was some food for thought. But yeah, I mean, even the N64 got an awesome Road Rash game. Road Rash 64. Gee, it was so innovative of them to give it that name, right? And Road Rash 64 looks like kind of a combination of Road Rash 3D from the PlayStation and Road Rash Jailbreak, kind of hybrided together. Mostly the story of Road Rash 3D instead of the really cool story from Road Rash Jailbreak. But being that that franchise was enormous, and it was one of the things owned, one of the company owned franchises by Electronic Arts. That's right, folks. Big evil themselves, EA. You know, it's an awesome franchise, and as far as I know, they still own it. Yeah, hold on, I gotta wait for this light. Oh, there it goes. Give it a second. Bingo. Okay. There's not the huge amount of cars I was expecting. So anyway, yeah, Electronic Arts, man, they still own the Road Rash franchise. And the thing is, when the PS2 launched and the GameCube and all that, I was really expecting like a really awesome Road Rash, you know, to come out for the PS2 and the GameCube, and heck, I was hoping that even the Dreamcast might get a decent Road Rash game, but that never came to bear. For some reason, Electronic Arts and their infinite wisdom, you know, instead of that wonderful feel of the past Road Rash games with that good kind of rumble fest that you enjoy right now, instead of that severe awesomeness, the roar of the motorcycle engines that we come to love from Road Rash, what game did Electronic Arts instead give us a sequel of? They gave us a PS2 sequel of Sledstorm, and I think they did another one on Xbox. Yeah, so super big franchise Road Rash, and what they do, they ignore it and instead start promoting a sequel to Sledstorm. And the sequel to Sledstorm was crummy at best for a PS2 title. It didn't even follow the story or the characters from the PlayStation original. And, you know, I'm sorry about ranting about this, but, you know, this is a walking rant. This freaking game, you know, for all the hyperbole and all this, that, oh, we're going to release Sledstorm 2, you know. And I don't even think they called it Sledstorm 2. I think they did like Mortal Kombat did, where they just remake their Mortal Kombat over and over again. Like Mortal Kombat X and whatever the heck it was. So I believe it was just called Sledstorm, but it was a sequel or a re-envisioning of it, a very bad, boring, shabby re-envisioning, and that's what we got. We didn't get an Xbox or PS2 or GameCube Road Rash, no. I mean, after the success of Road Rash Jailbreak on the original PlayStation, which spawned a Game Boy Advance version, by the way. Yeah, there's a Game Boy Advance cartridge, Road Rash Jailbreak. Don't get too excited. The graphics are forgettable, to say the least. And there's only one track of music from the original game actually in the Game Boy Advance version. I guess they really short-tailed them on the memory that was necessary for sound. But I was hoping that they would have done more with that, and they didn't. So the PS2 didn't get a road rash, but the Game Boy Advance did. Which is funny because the previous two Game Boys got road rash as well. They got a Game Boy Color version that I think that was also compatible with black and white, so it was like two for one, two for the price of one right there. Yeah, so as you can tell, I enjoyed the Road Rash games. I have defeated Road Rash 64. I have defeated Road Rash Jailbreak, which became my all-time favorite of all the Road Rash games. I enjoy Road Rash 3 on my Genesis and on my At Games Genesis. And I'm kind of surprised, the cell phone market is pretty shameless at this point, that with the popularity of the Road Rash titles that we did not see a cell phone version. No, we did not see a cell phone version. But let me get back to the season stuff, guys. Before I do that, how many of you would like to see the franchise of Road Rash revived on the new current machines? Switch 2, PS4, PS5, whatever name of Xbox they're using this hour. As you can tell, I'm not really into Xbox for many justifiable reasons, or even a PC release for 2025. Some interesting PC follow-up. All right, guys. So I'm heading to the department store, and like I said, they already got some of the Kris Kringle, some of the Christmas items are already out. And they're really shoving Halloween stuff like real hard, and we're just bridging over from August to September, you know what I mean? And they started pushing that card out in the middle of August practically. So, and what I was getting on with that earlier was that by the time you finally get October here, that a lot of this stuff has been put out early, so the really decent or good stuff that may have come in the early shipments is gone. It's like, not there, partially into October. People are looking like, hey, I'd like to get maybe a couple items of this or that. And like, oh, yeah, we had a bunch of that. Yeah, when we started stocking the shelf with it back in September. Yeah, or we started stocking the shelf with it back in August. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a drawback to them putting the stuff out early, is that when you go to get something that you think should be there because it's the actual month of the event to happen, chances are it's not there. And I think a lot of you, especially the cosplayers out there, they know exactly what I'm talking about here. And there's something satisfying about going to a physical store, finding something interesting, and purchasing it right there. Looking at it in your hand, in the bag or box that it comes in, seeing what its condition looks like, seeing, how much it weighs, all that stuff, and putting down your money or your card, purchasing it right there in person. For the normal people out here that are not agrophobes, agrophobes are basically scared of everything and scared of the outside world. So, for those wondering what an agoraphobe was. And if I didn't get that definition exactly spot on, then please go to Google and look up agoraphobe. But I believe I pretty much nailed it. So, and speaking of that, folks, I hope your cosplay needs are definitely doing well for this season coming up ahead. And like I said, we'll winter whatever it is that they're doing with Google. We may be saying goodbye to Android if they've gone too far. I don't know. But you know, they got so sure of themselves that they've decided to go into doing that sort of stuff, and like it doesn't matter or something. Well, they're going to find out financially it matters. They're going to find that out when a bunch of their unhappy previous customer base suddenly starts getting a bunch of flip phones from Caterpillar and Alcatel, and just kind of resting on their PCs for internet apps. And then they're going to see this like gigantic shift in the market, basically a gigantic drop in the market. And the CEOs and the companies are going to be scratching their heads like, what happened? What's going on? Like, they don't realize. They don't realize what people are loyal to, a brand. And when a brand ditches everything that makes that brand the brand we've come to know, to imitate, to become a clone of a completely different brand, basically, yeah, the established fan base does not like that, and they feel like that's a personal betrayal, and so they figure, well, if the company doesn't value my customership, then maybe this other company will value my customership. And if someone would just start teaching that in the think tanks that these CEOs travel to, maybe we'd get some more sensible decisions than what they've been making lately. All right, this is your good buddy, like I said, Wild Elf 26, and this rant went on a little longer than I planned to, but I'm going to call this the Witchy season walking rant. Have a great one, guys. Hug your loved ones, and have a great couple of upcoming seasons. I hope my Halloween and my Thanksgiving are awesome. I hope your Halloween and your Thanksgiving are awesome, folks. And let's give us a little hopeful consideration and maybe a little prayer that we all do a little better. All right, guys. Extreme close-up.